baby! I'm the trouble cat. Greetings, Night Pack. Catastrophe here and on the prowl. This spooky season, I wish to share with you my thoughts on a game saga very close to your favorite kitten's heart.
We're the Darkstalkers!
I absolutely love Darkstalkers. This has quickly risen as one of my favorite horror games, right next to Mortal Kombat. For those in the shadows, Darkstalkers is a fighting game franchise, basically about the classic universal monsters and legends of foreign folklore duking it out in a big epic battle over our world's fate. Lost downtrodden souls rise as heroes, big bad villains become bigger and badder, and we enjoy kicking demon arse as our favorite monsters. Now yeah, the saga does have its own lore, but that's not what we're here for. We're here to talk about the iconic magic brawlers, and my adoring love or utter hatred on the big names. I will warn the fans that I didn't exactly grow up when these games were huge hits. I actually discovered this franchise the same way as most of us newbie fans did, through seeing the best characters on Marvel vs. Capcom games. But I was intrigued. So intrigued that I eventually explored the lore and jumped right into this amazing universe, which dazzles both gamers and horror fans alike. I'm always looking to scrap as my favorite furries online with anyone, but right now we've got a vid to play first. I'm now confident enough to say my thoughts on this universe better than before, so let's have a game of tier list. I'm going to be ranking each and every iconic Darkstalker on a good old tier ranking, with slots that let you know my basic views on them. We have S-rank Darkstalker for only the best of the best. Then awesome aces. These were the warriors who were good but not quite perfect specimens. Beta beasts for the characters who are average, not awful enough to be bad, but still so far from epic. Then cooked cryptids, who are essentially the weakest. Not trash, but had tons of wasted potential or less dark energy. And down at rock bottom, we have Darkness Falls, for characters who are so horrific that they deserve to be engulfed by the shadows and never ever return. And blah 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 biased opinions. These are my personal thoughts on these characters, so don't cry trouble man to me over my ranking. I love nearly all the cast and have so much to praise and exercise. With that out of the way, let's enter the battlefield and talk stock. This is my ranking on the Darkstalkers. Well, let's kick off this list with the character I know everyone wants to see, Princess Morgan Ainsland. And I'm sorry guys, but I have to say it. Morgan sucks. She sucks. Overrated as hell, worst character of the franchise. Morgan has not aged well, and isn't as great as we all- No, I'm just kidding. Of course Morgan's S rank. Was there really any doubt? Without Morgan, there wouldn't even be a series. For reals, Miss Ainsland is practically the mascot of the franchise. Anyone who has even heard of Darkstalkers knows who this lovely lass is. Morgan is the sole icon of the series who has stayed mainstream, and kept Darkstalkers in memory for the exact reasons you think. She's hot, she kicks butt, she's fun, and she's the literal personification of temptation. The succubus princess is the rebellious daughter of not Satan, who's grown extremely bored with her duties as a royal, so she frequently runs away to our mortal world of Earth in order to partay, have lots of sex, and stir up plenty of mischief, all in the name of fun. Morgan's simply suave and cool. Men want her, women want to be her, and she's shockingly more than just a pretty face. Her story about being a runaway hell princess gives her far more layers and depth than you'd expect for somebody who deep down just craves fun. villain. Over the course of the series, and depending on the continuity, Morgan evolves from a wicked villainess into a sassy anti-hero who goes from treating other souls as playthings into seeing something special within these puny mortals worth cherishing. A very touching redemption arc of sorts, which naturally made lots of fans fall for her. After all, everyone loves a bad girl, having twisted fun by dark, but hiding a heart deep down, which makes her endearing. She's never been my number one, but I can't deny that Morgan's undoubtedly the alpha gal. So, with alluring Ainslan on the board, I suppose we should get to the other protagonist, Dimitri. No lie, he's S-rank too. The Vampire Lord is wonderfully wicked, on par with his frenemy Morgan. For those unaware, Dimitri was originally meant to be the real main character of Darkstalkers. He was devised to be the star, a once sick villain protagonist who slowly morphs into a morally gray anti-hero on his quest to reconquer hell after being exiled from it. Unfortunately, as usual for Capcom, that didn't pan out. Dimitri's one glaring flaw is that he was far too unsympathetic, and his redemption arc ended up in flames. Most of his story went towards better heroic Darkstalkers instead, but luckily the franchise fixed that by having Dimitri full-on embrace his dark side, which forged him into a cool villain. Lord Maximov's a creepy yet cool badass vampire overlord. He considers himself Morgan's archenemy and her destined lover, hoping that Miss Ainslan will be all his once he bests her in combat. He's an arrogant, sadistic, vicious schemer, but one that can back his ego up with a hidden talent of scheming and raw power. Dimitri's a fun villain protagonist because his give-no-shiz attitude, dark fashion, and unnerving charisma really cement him as a grim danger. Almost the male equivalent to Morgan. Not to mention, he's one of the funnest characters to play as in the games. The Midnight Bliss and his horrific man-bat forms are visual marvels. It's a darn sin that this dude's overlooked, because Dimitri is the most badass vampire to haunt our realm. So I'm going to begin going through some lesser monsters. Let's talk Marionette, the killer doll girl, and make her our first beta beast. Some of you might not even know this character exists, because Marionette's a secret hidden character. You must press a certain code to unlock her, but essentially she's used for mirror matches. Marionette puppets a random character, who you, the player, must combat in a same character fight. So if you're fighting Dimitri, then she becomes a crude replica of Dimitri. If you fight Morgan, then she becomes Morgan, and so on and so forth. This character is alright. Got a spooky doll girl design, but her character and fighting style are severely lacking, and make her more of a gimmick than an actual person. Heck, even her backstory's shrouded in total mystery, so there's not too much about her. I'd love to know more on her or see her expanded upon, but the harsh truth is she's not all that. She's just a bonus secret character with a nifty look, and relies on others fighting for her. Honestly, I think she might be the past life of the review reviewers made. I put her on the bland beta beast slot because honestly, there's a way better character on here who upstages her act. And that character is Shadow, our first awesome ace. Shadow's the superior version of Marionette in every way. He's the traditional ghost, a spooky spirit who also has the power of possession. Shadow actually takes control of the bodies of previous foes he killed, and uses their corpse to combat other new foes so he can possess more new bods. Almost nothing about this spirit is known, which the game uses to make him scarier, because we have no clue about what he's capable of. I think a comic revealed that he could even puppet Marionette, showing how powerful he surpasses her. Sadly, because we know so little about him, Shadow doesn't have much depth to be on S rank, but there's no argument from me that he isn't awesome. Who doesn't love a Shadow Man?
I am the Shadow Man.
time we encounter our first cooked cryptid, the sexy witch girl who appeared in that one comic. Yeah, this chick isn't even an official Darkstalker. She never popped up in any of the games. She was entirely made up as a filler boss on the Darkstalker comics, which is surprising since you'd think a monster mash would involve a witch character, but nope. I really dig the sexy wicked witch design, but tragically she ends up cooked on everything else. This villainess doesn't have much persona, and she's not even a fighter. While traveling across America, this hot witch chick stumbles upon Felicia and John Tailbane while she's, no joke, killing random cats for not being black enough for her. No build-up, no deeper look into her, not even a backstory. This chick comes right the hell out of nowhere, flying across the world shooting cats. And lo and behold, she attempts to slay Felicia for being white.
You're a racist!
Apparently this dingbat has some type of hate boner for Felicia because she considers herself the cat girl's archenemy and vows to destroy her, while Felicia hilariously has no frickin' clue who the green meanie is. I actually do like this concept, that sweet innocent Felicia has a deranged nemesis who wants to skin her, but unfortunately it's never been explored outside of comic filler. Would have loved to see how things would have turned out with Felicia's #1 hater, but she ended up wasted. C tier. And while we're talking about filler foes, let's add the witch's pet Catboy Thomas, who shares places with her on the cooked side. No joke, this guy barely does anything. He's simply the pet of the hot witch, and they save his true form as a comedic twist. Thomas is implied to be a new archenemy for fan favorite cat girl Felicia, and possible love interest? But he hits the same issue as his master, very wasted and underdeveloped. He cries and runs away whenever John Tailbane chases him. It's a darn shame, since I think a cat boy would be fun to explore, especially since he's a rare breed of Darkstalker. But alas, he's just a goofy filler villain. The only fans Thomas has are all the fangirls who dig sexy anime boys. Would love to see him again, but it doesn't seem we will. Speaking of sexy lookers, let's add Lilith. I'm certain I'm going to get a lot of hate for this, but Lilith is an awesome ace. Oh yeah, that's right. Feed me your dark fury. Lilith has never been a character I totally loved, but she's still pretty fun and outrageously zany. Lilith is Morgan's sister, created from a missing piece of Morgan's soul, which was found by Jeda and given shape into a twisted reflection of Miss Ainsland. Grateful and addicted to experiencing all pleasures of life, Lilith becomes Jeda's right-hand woman, helping him on his villain quest, while it's also partying and stirring up trouble like Big Sis. Lilith's the Melina to Morgan's Katana. She's a hyperactive lunatic party girl, more obsessed with having fun than any serious business. However, beneath her chipper demeanor lies a lost monster who seeks to reunite her soul with Morgan in order for them to become one, but with Lilith's mind behind the wheel. I will say she's really funny, enjoyable to play as thanks to her goofy movesets, and makes for a terrific foil to Morgan. But the sole reason why she's not high up top for me is because the writers have not given her a solid character, as she's been both a misunderstood anti-villain with a heart of gold, or somehow a more monstrous evil bitch than her sister, who loves killing people. Lilith's written very inconsistently morality-wise, which is why I don't often gravitate towards her as much as the cooler chicas. Almost all the other Darkstalkers establish where they stand, but she swings to yin and yang too often. I don't view her as perfect for that sole reason. Nevertheless, I do agree she's awesome for being fun and gifting us somebody for the cooler sister to bounce off of.
Geez, my sister's weird. Unlike you, Doctor.
Since we're on topic of the Ainsland clan, let's soar with Morgan's father, King Belal, ruler of the Makai, who is sadly on Beta Beast. I'm sorry, dear Lady Morgan, don't mean to diss Daddy Demon, but sadly Belal is an average character because we never get to enjoy him on screen. Belal's an off-screen vague force of nature, and many times a posthumous character who we barely even see. The King of the Makai is an old demon warlord who gave birth to Morgan so he could pass on his kingdom and throne to her as he's dying. The Demon King ruled for eons but requires an heir to lead his forces into a stronger empire, which he seeks to guide his daughter into becoming. Sadly, we don't exactly get to know much about him or even witness him in action. We meet the guy around the time he's dying or is long dead, and his demise is meant to influence Morgan's character development. It's almost hard to determine if he's even truly evil or not, because Belal seemingly pays no mind to our human verse and truly loves his daughter as his biggest redeeming trait, but at the same time we can't rule out if he has committed evil sins, since he does have severe punishments, banished Dimitri over personal vendettas, and is ruler of hell and all. I'm unsure if he even counts as a full character because he's more or less an NPC we only get to know when his time officially comes to an end. It's strongly teased he was a badass a while back, but not by the time we meet him. I'll keep him in the middle since he's got some cool factor, but isn't a strong enough presence in the saga. Speaking of weak presence, we're putting Sea King Ruo down low as our first Darkness Falls entry. Oh yeah, I'll be the brave kitty to say it, Ruo sucks. He sucks. This is easily the most unpopular Darkstalker on the roster. And no, he's not curiously attractive for a fishman. He's fugly in the actual games. Inspired by the creature of the Black Lagoon, Ruo is a king merman who enters the Darkstalker War in effort to protect his sea folk from the rising darkness. However, he's not even close to a hero like Aquaman, but rather a more nasty, gross Namor. Now, of course, there's a cool idea here for a badass sea monster, but Ruo's proven to be a poor example of one. Most Darkstalker fans do not like this guy because he's very ridiculous to play and fight against in the games. His powers are total bull, and he's so unlikable. Ruo is presented as the good king who only wishes to save his people, but in his ending he does so by killing all life on the surface world so he can make room for his kind, not giving a Sasquatch's crap about all the lives he destroyed to make him and his group the master race.
What an asshole!
Screw this guppy. All this loser is a dumb meme.
You are curiously attractive for a fishman. So I've been told.
Up next is the blade surfing kahuna himself, Donovan, who I'll admit is awesome. Donovan's a character I've had mixed feelings for over my time as a Darkstalker fan, as he's easily the least interesting of the core cast, and not perfect enough for me to view as an S-rank all-star. But his journey on saving the world and slow redemption arc into a more noble anti-hero definitely save him from falling down low. Donovan's essentially the Van Helsing of the saga. He's a Nephilim monster hunter, born half human, half Darkstalker. Upon nearly losing his humanity to his dark demon heritage, he suffers a grim tragedy which leads to him mastering his emotions and training to purge this world of monsters in order to atone for his past sins. He saves a little girl named Anita who travels alongside him and inadvertently helps him cling to his soul he struggles to keep. Now this guy seems like a badass hero on paper, and while he's definitely a powerful character in the games, I do have some probs with his personality and end goal. My biggest gripe being that Donovan sees the world in black and white for the longest time, and is the last character in the series to understand the morality struggles the other Darkstalkers feel. Like, this guy vows to kill every supernatural creature around the globe, including the good Darkstalkers. Darkstalkers. Like, why? He gives zero care that his mission requires cutting down the heroic Darkstalkers who just want to live their life or bring good in the world. So he's a-okay with offing Felicia, Victor, John Tailbane, Hasinko, Morgan, and even Anakaris, who just wants to keep his people safe. But oh no, they're born of dark blood, then they must be purged. It's really the big reason why he's not S-rank to me, because he's almost too unsympathetic until his heel face turn. Oh, and don't get me started on the OVA. I hate anime Donovan so much. I can't stand his angsty lectures. Life is pain, pain is life, just shut up. The saving grace for Donovan is that he's both radical in the games and actually pretty amazing in the comic. Comic book Donovan won me over and made me understand him far better than any of the toons did. Far from flawless, but he's a holy warrior with a lost heart of gold. Tragically, the same can't be said for Anita, who's totally cooked. Here's another hot take from Dark Cat. I do not care for Anita. I think she's a supremely weak nobody among a cooler cast, and the key example of wasted potential. Anita's a little girl who Donovan adopts after her family was killed by Darkstalkers. However, the trauma affected her so badly that she emotionally closed herself off from the world, leading to Donovan attempting to restore her humanity and live again, much like himself. Sadly, Anita's emotionless feelings render her super boring. I often forget that she's there in the background, as Anita is not at all unique or entertaining. The worst part is, the games and supplementary material imply that she was going to grow up into a badass playable character, carrying on Donovan's mission for him, and utilizing secret hidden powers she had within. But guess what? This goes absolutely nowhere. Anita ended up getting tossed aside and forgotten about first sequel. Even the creators didn't care to use her outside of a cute sidekick for Donovan. I never got what was so special about her because at the end of the day, she's just useless and dull. Hasinko explains my thoughts on Anita precisely.
Jeez, kids are brats. Remind me not to have any.
Let's get back to happy thoughts with Anakaris, who I believe is awesome. Anakaris is a badass mummy who revived from the dead when his nation Egypt is threatened by the looming threat of Pyron. So he uses his mummy power to step up and combat the super devil or other foes in effort to protect his land from the rising darkness. I mean, what can I say? He's a magic mummy warrior. That's pure awesome sauce. The only reason why Anakaris doesn't make S rank is because for as boss as he is, he's also a very difficult character to control, as the Pharaoh's a tank. He's a big, buff, slow tank character, whose hits and specials are what pack a wallop. However, the other fighters are way faster than him. Anakaris can survive hits for a while, but having him move is his biggest hurdle, though he atones for that thanks to his marvelous magic moves, which are all fun. My fave being him transforming opponents into their spirit animals. Those are always grand. Personality-wise, Anakaris fits the ominous, mysterious, noble king act, as all he desires is the safety of his people, and has no quarrel with others unless challenged. However, he's a king unafraid to get his hands dirty, and will show you why his rule is everlasting, making him epic. I have a soft spot for killer mummy warriors, so you can bet it's a huge delight to play as a magic mummy. A shockingly good king, Anakaris is truly a national treasure. While we're on the topic of royalty, let's fly with QB, who's totally awesome. QB's an insect monster in the form of an alluring woman who allies herself with the villain Jeda in exchange for helping her bee people prosper under his new world order, and seeks to help her kind build better hives above those who view her kind as stupid bugs unworthy of respect. Despite appearing almost human, QB's the most primal savage beast of the Darkstalkers cast, because her human skin is just that, a fake disguise covering her true hideous bug form. She's low-key creepy to me. All her race thinks about is eating and mating, which she blurs the line on frequently. actually. I think she's a rather unsettling monster with a gnarly set of fighting moves. However, she doesn't make it to S rank because Queenie's also a total idiot, as her insect mind doesn't think things through, and more often than not, she ends up in big trouble thanks to her short sight. Also, her character hasn't been explored as much compared to the other warriors, because her insect persona leads to very little beyond animal instinct. Regardless, I love playing as her in the games and would not underestimate her behavior. But before we fly too close to the sun, let's cross off our last comic-only character, Lilith's boyfriend, John Stately. He's going squarely on Beta Beast. He's got more going on than Marionette, so we'll give him that. This dude's another book-only character who plays a love interest towards Lilith, as he befriends her when she's lost and gives her a home to stay at, where Morgan's chaotic sis slowly falls in love with him and begins a redemption arc thanks to the power of love. John's an alright character, but being a regular generic human guy does hold him back in a franchise famous for its fighting combatants. John's got a cute romance with Lilith and helps her form an identity to call her own thanks to his compassion and friendly hand, but he's a pretty meh person on his own. All we know about him is that he's an artist, he's nice, he admires Robin Hood, and Lilith's totally into him, which to some fans makes him a rival. Overall, he's just okay, but I don't see what Lily sees in him. Let's finally get another epic Darkstalker with Hasinko, an S-rank badass. And you know what? I will push her ahead of Dimitri, because she's that gnarly. Hasinko's a bounty hunter Chinese vampire who treks across the land handling Darkstalker crimes. For a decent price, of course. Hasinko's so fun, not only in her games as this hyperactive long-armed ghost girl with a penchant for cartoon weaponry, but her spunky bubbly hero attitude makes her really stand out amongst a more dead serial cast. I would dare say that she comes across as the most normal girl among the female Darkstalkers, as she acts like her fights and missions are just a job, and she shares tons of playful banter with everyone else, especially her ghost sister. The funniest moment they share is when the sisters both crush on Thor. Hasinko and her sib are bound together as one, with her twin Mei Ling being the moral compass and brains of the operation, while Hasinko's the muscle and driver of their bod. Her backstory's a bit overly complex, as they use a ton of magic and suffered a tragedy where they lost their mage ghost mother, but their role as a Darkstalker warrior makes them really enjoyable to play as and watch. Hasinko's super cool and charming. She has a really elegant design, loves her throwing knives, is so adorable, and has the most creative moveset on par with Jeda and Morgan. I think she's hugely underrated and deserves way more love. While we're on Miss Ko, we'll go ahead and place her sister Mei Ling on Awesome. Now that may seem weird since she's connected to her sister and all, but honestly, Mei Ling's more so a spirit guide attached to the Chinese vampire. She takes the form of a magic talisman placed on her sister to prevent Hasinko from losing her mind and going feral in combat. And when detached, she banters with her twin as a foil to her. Not quite somebody you'd appreciate in a fighting game, which is why she's down a level, but I appreciate her as Big Sis cohort. Since we're on zany Darkstalkers, let's snipe Sasquatch, who's another beta beast. Won't sugarcoat this, the Sasquatch is indeed a fun character, but all he is a comic relief joke fighter, and that's all. He's a big tough ice warrior who's the strongest Bigfoot of his village, sent out to protect their pack from the darkness rising, but he's a total goofball who gets into wacky hijinks and is treated as a joke by everyone. Even Felicia and Rakuo don't take him seriously. He doesn't have a very deep, compelling story. He's never been plot relevant in good Darkstalkers tales, and his ice powers are cool. but his moveset pales in comparison to superior warriors, and his sole purpose is the joke character. He's the Dan Hibiki of Darkstalkers. I don't recall ever meeting somebody who told me Sasquatch was their fave. Good for laugh and has some killer moves, but he's on the mess side of epic icons. The only thing I despise about him is his annoying relative Furball. Screw that ditz. Speaking of awful annoying sidekicks, let's talk about the worst Darkstalker, Harry Grimoire, who, surprise surprise, is Darkness Falls bad. Now some of you may ask, hey Cat, did you only include Harry Grimoire to list him as the worst character? Yes, I did. Harry Grimoire sucks. Some dipwad at an animation studio thought to themselves, you know what this dark horror anime with hot chicks, spooky demons, and dramatic tales with racist and sexual themes was missing? A wacky tag-along kid sidekick.
No!
Harry only exists in the terrible Darkstalkers cartoon, thank God, and is without question the most hated addition to the saga. He's the chosen one, destined to defeat Lord Pyron and bring balance to Darkstalkers and humans one day, under an era of peace. However, you'd never guess that with how stupid and annoying he is. In the actual cartoon, all Harry does is act as a dumbass comic relief who tries playing hero only to end up in trouble or captured by the villains, so the heroes can get in trouble trying to rescue him. He undergoes some growth as the tune goes on, but it's so obvious that Harry's a character who does not belong in this universe. He was solely invented for the kids to see themselves represented on a dark, bloody horror video game series never aimed at children. To me, Harry's everything wrong with that Darkstalkers tune in one character, as he was as bad as the show was.
Jeez, kids are brats. Remind me not to have any.
While we're on the depressing side, I'm sticking Dark Donovan in Cooked Crypted. This is Donovan's dark half possessing him, but in truth, I never found him interesting. Dark D's just boring and generic. And while I'm raising hell, let's raise Victor onto Beta Beast. Though he's certainly high up on the beta line, he's still just an okay character. Victor is merely Frankenstein's monster. That's it. He's Frankenstein's monster in a fighting game. Victor has a really sweet backstory, as all he seeks is to protect his creator and sister Emily, but when she's endangered, he's reluctantly dragged into the Darkstalkers conflict, and slowly rises above as the hero people never saw him as, in a badass hero's journey. Sadly, his simple character simply makes me less interested in him, when he's surrounded by such awesome monsters with more pizzazz. It doesn't help that his combat moves are also okay. Victor shocks enemies with electricity, has super strength, and can grow his butt bigger. His fists, his forehead, and his butt grow bigger. Lame. He's a nice character in certain aspects, but to me, he's got less wattage. Which leads me to my case in point, Pyron. Lord Pyron's an awesome ace, who's out of this world. This guy's the definition of an epic boss. If it isn't clear, Pyron's essentially the devil. He's a being of great evil who crossed the cosmos to raise hell, and will destroy Earth by eating all our souls. He kickstarts the entire conflict of the OG games by conquering our blue ball Earth, but allowing us a fighting chance to survive if he can lose a brawl to the fiercest champions our planet has to offer, where naturally the Darkstalkers step in. The Super Devil loves to fight and challenges these monsters, blocking his meal. Pyron's the original final boss, and a dang tough one. This guy radiates mega villain energy, has some sweet stylish moves, and over-the-top charisma, and is super monstrous. I won't lie though, he's not an S-rank Darkstalker in my cat eyes, because he's been butchered in tons of media outside the games. The cartoon bastardized him completely. The OVA nerfs him into a generic doomsday villain, and the comic gave him a huge anti-climax. I don't like that he's been disgraced, but won't deny that the games made him a ferocious boss. He's under Anakaris for me, as he's pure fire, yet not hot enough. Finally, we scratch my fave, Felicia. Who none of my followers should be shocked is an S-rank angel, and I'm putting her above Morgan. Oh yeah, that's right, I love Felicia more than Morgan. No shame. Felicia's Possum, easily my personal hero. While not as big as Miss Ainsland, Felicia is pretty much the second most recognizable face of the saga. She's an upbeat, fun-loving magic cat girl who dreams of becoming a famous star one day, and wants to show all that humans and Darkstalkers can get along with one another by shattering that glass ceiling and being accepted. And much to everyone's surprise, she's also a badass who knows how to fight and even saves the world in between her schedule. Felicia is so much fun and endearing. Not only is she hotter than the succubus race, but she's so positive, optimistic, and even silly to be around. She's also my main, since this is the lady who got me into the Darkstalkers series in the first place, and I've been keeping up trying to get her merch. It also helps that she's undeniably the best hero among the games, as Felicia's unapologetically kind-hearted, selfless, caring, and never gives up faith that there's good in the world, making her a rare beacon of light in an otherwise dark, haunting world. Oh, not to mention she can go toe-to-toe in death battles with literal titans. Girl even slashed Thanos. Love her character, love her skills, really love her design, and love her the most out of the whole roster. This kitty's so cute, she even made my top 10 waifus, now available on Patreon. And for free too! With those prices, it's the bargain of a lifetime! Next star is Lord Raptor, who's S-rank, because I mean, come on, no duh, the badass energetic zombie rock star is a showstopper. But time to bring my mood down with Shaman, who's our last cooked cryptid. Now I'll confess, yes, this character's got a cool design and unique backstory, but gameplay and story-wise, his blade's a tad dull. Shaman is our retro ghost samurai warrior. Once a regular man living in feudal Japan, Shaman's hometown was under attack, where in a desperate bid to save his people, the warrior donned a cursed armor said to possess its wearer and force them to commit countless murders due to feasting on blood. Shaman saved his village only to completely destroy it himself and lose his body to the demon armor, who uses its host to kill again and again, feeding its eternal bloodlust. Shaman's more or less Venom, but with a flat backstory. His character arc's not that compelling, especially since the armor's a one-note symbiote monster who has no endgame outside of killing, and Shaman himself is not really explored as a person, since it's kept a secret twist that he's really a good guy trapped in Darkstalker armor. They tried making him somewhat cool by having him be Donovan's rival, but that doesn't exactly make him as enjoyable as the cooler monsters. Not to mention, he's super hard to play as in the game. He's like the biggest character I suck at. I can perform well as Rikuo over him. Shaman does have a wicked concept, but I don't find him shiny like the high-class knights. Let's do Huitzel next, who I think is awesome. The Huitzel bots are fantastic battle droid warriors with the coolest moveset, creepy menace, and a fearless, unrelenting dedication at fulfilling their programming. Basically, Pyron invented the Huitzel drones to serve him as loyal goons, and scattered them across the galaxy to hunt down potential opponents the Super Devil could battle for funsies. However, the robots are also designed to be tough combatants themselves, and help thin the competition in case their prey is unworthy of Pyron's greatness. One of the Huitzel drones actually gains a character arc when it befriends an Aztec boy who discovers and fixes it, where Huitzel actually evolves into a self-aware free thinker who grows to love these humans, performing an Iron Giant plot by sacrificing itself to save his human companions. These bots are incredible little mecha mooks, who really impress me with their sinister sci-fi look, their advanced weaponry, the cold lifeless robot voices, and really jolly fights they share with rival Darkstalkers. Some may find it weird that the guy who was by all purposes a mindless jobber made it so high, but I say he's an achievement in engineering. Final 3, let's count down with BB Hood, who actually wins S rank from me for one big plus. BB Hood is frickin' creepy. You know you're not a true horror fable without a scary child cliche, and BB Hood's certainly the high bar for that archetype. Red's a psycho little brat who dedicated her life to hunting and exterminating all Darkstalker kind, has an arsenal of advanced weaponry, slick skills at using her innocent girl charms to fool foes, and a demented bloodlust as she really loves her job. BB Hood has a tragic tale explaining all of this, as she was once a normal, innocent girl from a loving fam until a werewolf came along slaughtering her parents, leaving her alive, heartbroken, and vowing vengeance on the very monsters who ruined her life. Alas, in a tale as old as Red Riding Hood, BB Hood slowly grew into a worse menace than the creatures she slays. This lady's the epitome of all the worst habits of humankind. BB Hood was designed to be so ruthless and sadistic that she shows how sometimes human beings are the real monsters. She slips so far down the abyss that she's worse than the literal demons and ghouls she kills, because she lost herself to the joy of murder. She's that character who makes you ask, exactly how much can a tragic backstory truly justify before you realize you're the real ghoul? BB Hood's a twisted villain, so much that even the other Darkstalkers dread her. She's scarier than Dimitri. Bet you'll never guess who her archenemy is. Helping her high status is that she's also fun to play as BB's a berserk maniac with some insane combo moves. I really dig the hyper psychopath villainess, and BB Hood's no exception, since she's nearly worse than Negacat. So epic that it's hard not to shake in the path of a monster serial killer. Finally, at the hot furry for females, John Tailbane, who's another S rank, because of course he is. Did you read what channel you're on? Tailbane's a wicked werewolf warrior, who has slowly gained his dues as an underrated powerhouse. John was once a man until a demon wolf inflicted a curse upon him, which naturally made him into a werewolf. Unlike most of the other Darkstalkers, the guy wasn't born with his supernatural gifts, but was once a normal Joe who lost his old life and all hope of ever becoming ordinary. A martial arts Darkstalker who shares his pain adopts him and guides him in the ways of spiritual enlightenment in order to help him control his urges and salvage his soul, where John grows into a kung fu wolf, going on adventures around the globe just trying to live. In some incarnations, Johnny Boy forms an odd friendship with Felicia too, who helps the Wolfman restore faith in humanity, allowing Tailbane to become a heroic Darkstalker with hope again. And this is why John's so popular. He's everything that Dimitri and Donovan should have been. A lost soul who salvages his inner good in order to rise up as a hero saving the world. The werewolf's such a terrific anti-hero that it's why people love him so. Well, that and all the horny fan art. Plus his gameplay's also the easiest to master, making you want to play him more often since Tailbane's skills exceed even Morgan's. So a strong fighter as well. I'm so glad this dog got his day, because Tailbane's got plenty of bite backing his bark. And saving the best for last, we have Jeda, who's phenomenally an S-rank icon because he's the gold villain of the series. Guys, this dude isn't only the best Darkstalkers baddie, he's one of the best Capcom villains ever. He's right up there next to M. Bison and Wesker. Jeda's that bossa nova. To put it bluntly, Jeda is the Grim Reaper. More specifically, a Dullahan, the Japanese Grim Grim Reaper. He's a centuries-old demon lord who escaped his imprisonment thanks to the death of Pyron, where he learns of the power struggles between Darkstalkers and humankind before putting forth his ultimate endgame to resolve that into motion. Jeda's plan is to know Kitten, absorb enough warrior souls so he can kill God, and replace him with a cloned baby version of himself, so he can rebuild our universe under his greatness. To do so, he tries reaping every Darkstalker he can to gain the power to assassinate the Lord, where everyone puts aside their differences to stop him. Holy cow, this villain scheme's so intense and deranged, I love it. The bad guy wants to kill God. How do you outdo an endgame final boss like that? What boosts him sky high is that Jeda's also a terrifying horror monster. He's a cold, calculating chess master, suave and cool under pressure, has a haunting evil laugh, and his movesets are all bloody, gory Mortal Kombat attacks. Jeda sometimes self-mutilates himself knowing he can regrow lost body parts, or gruesomely bludgeons his opponents in savage ways. This guy's disturbing. Hell, the guy even bitch slaps Dante. Is there any denial of his badassery? Appropriately, he's also the lethal final boss. Because he has more traits and lore, he rises above Pyron in every way. This dude's the perfect horror game villain, so he deserves all my praise. Who knew the only thing scarier than the Super Devil was death itself? And that completes my Darkstalkers ranking. Here's a photo if you want to see them all together. The franchise overall has a pretty killer roster of grand icons. So, what did you think? Were you surprised by my list? Did you call it? Who are your favorite creatures of the night? Well, post it on the screen, cause I gotta catch the Felicia show.